What's going on, guys? RBG here, bringing you another breakdown on Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. We're just 12 days away from getting our hands on the game, yet there's still a ton of cool things being revealed to us. And although it may seem like Insomniac is pulling the curtains back a little too early, they aren't necessarily revealing anything that's going to ruin our experience with the game. Because the story and awesome gameplay is going to do the job of delivering that epic experience for you. Which is dope, because it confirms that this isn't going to be your usual one and done spinoff. It's a solid game that's going to be packed to the brim with so much awesome content you're not going to want to stop playing until Insomniac announces their next Spider game. Yesterday we finally got the official reveal for the Into the Spider-Verse suit, and I'm going to be doing a breakdown and comparing it to the movie model, so stay tuned. Now before we jump into today's video, I want to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, G2A. If you're looking for a way to purchase the hottest video games without burning a hole in your wallet, you should really consider checking them out. They offer key codes for different platforms such as Steam, PS Network, and Xbox for half the price of the original. So why wouldn't you want to take advantage of this deal? You absolutely lose if you overpay, so go ahead and seize the win. You can do so by clicking the link that will be provided in the description of this video. But as I was saying, we're finally getting our official look at the highly anticipated Into the Spider-Verse suit. If you remember, Sony accidentally confirmed that it would be in the game on their official site shortly before taking it down. So all there was left for us to do was play the waiting game, because the writing was on the wall at that point. Since they had previously added Peter B. Parker, also known as Peter Burrito Parker's Into the Spider-Verse model into the game, we knew we were going to get the same for Miles Morales. But what we didn't know, or at least I didn't, was that it would come with its own set of unique properties. When we got the Spider-Verse skin for Peter, it didn't really come with anything, like it didn't even come with any suit powers. So I didn't know what they could bring with Miles Into the Spider-Verse skin. Even though Insomniac has worked close with the designers who brought us the MCU suits, not every costume came with suit powers. If I'm not mistaken, the only movie costumes that did come with their unique abilities was the Homecoming Stark suit, the Homemade suit, and the Iron Spider suit. But every movie suit after that was basically just for aesthetic purposes, which was totally fine. There was more than enough stuff added to make each suit fun with all the money that Miles Morales could possibly go through something similar with his Into the Spider-Verse look. But the devs put more work into this thing than I could have ever imagined. Right off the bat, you see that they've added the stuttery frame effect that was pretty much a technical marvel in the film. Something that I absolutely loved about this direction is how the animators made sure that each frame could look like an image from the comic. Not only that, if you notice, each Spider-Man from their respective universe moved in their own unique frame to further emphasize that they didn't really belong in Miles' world. And Miles in particular wouldn't even match frames with the background. Instead, he'd be off by one frame. It's what I can only describe as this new visual language. Like, I believe they call it the on the twos or something along those lines. But as you can see, Miles performs swinging or combat animations and he misses a frame in each scene, creating this illusion of a 24 frame character existing in a 30 frame environment. Now, as to if this effect will work in the actual cutscenes, it's anyone's guess. But I'm hoping they somehow incorporate it in though, because I feel like it'll only make the costume look even more unique in motion. That's what I loved about the vintage comic book suit from Marvel Spider-Man 1. It's just one of those looks that has this sick looking effect that makes it seem like it's rotoscoped in with each scene. Not to mention it looks really good during the night scenes. So I'm hoping we get that same trippiness with the Into the Spider-Verse suit for Miles. And if you ask me, I think they should give you the option of turning this effect on or off, because I can see some players getting a little motion sick from this added effect. We were only looking at this thing at 30 FPS, so I can only imagine how jarring it can be at 60 FPS. So the devs should definitely give us that on or off option. But moving on, another design element we see is the funny pop-up words that appear when you hit enemies or zap them, as well as the famous Jack Kirby dots that move along the suit. You see words like zap and zwak followed by pictures of stars that emphasize how powerful the attacks are. This is another one of those details the talented people over at Sony Animation implemented brilliantly into their film. When I see this, I'm instantly reminded of some of the funnier scenes, like where Miles throws a bagel at one of the scientists and the word bagel appears when it hits his head. Those little nuances really do it for me, man. And I know this may be a bit of a stretch, but I really hope the devs consider adding these effects to Peter's Into the Spider-Verse skin in Marvel Spider-Man 1. Since the remastered version is pretty much running off the same engine as Miles Morales, it'll probably be a cinch to pull it off. So I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed on that. But moving on, I want to touch upon some of the other things that were revealed in this extended gameplay reveal for the Spider-Verse suit, which is a fair amount of stuff. We've been wondering about the things like the flip tricks you can do in this game, because it seems like the most we've gotten are Miles doing flaily moves and reverse swan dives. Miles still has a ways to go before he masters his swinging, so we were wondering if he'd even be able to perform any air tricks like Peter does, and this footage pretty much confirms that he will. As you can see, it starts off with an obvious reference to the ending scene of Into the Spider-Verse called The One and Only Spider-Man, where we see Miles relaxing with his hands behind his head. This game already seems to be featuring many swinging animations that reference the movie, but it looks like they're going to be saving some of them as flip tricks that can be done in combos. I'm hoping this time around the developers give us a wider variety of tricks to perform, because that was one of the things I didn't really like about the first Spider-Man game. Once you saw one flip, you saw them all within the first 10 minutes of swinging. Like, there was no store that allowed you to buy more moves like Spider-Man 2 the movie game. So they should really consider adding more moves into this game and the next game to keep us coming back to swing around New York. But moving on, we see what looks to be another reference to the very same ending scene titled The One and Only Spider-Man, where he sort of spins into a ball. It could also be a callback to a similar move Peter does in the first game, except with a little less grace. A statement that seems to echo true from Insomniac when seeing these moves is that Miles definitely looks like more of an acrobatic skydiver, because shortly after he performs this spinny move called the curly fry, he swiftly transitions into a move called the roly-poly. Like, it seems like you're going to be getting way more hang time than Peter to pull off these free-falling moves. I know there have been some people that aren't too high on the game's overall presentation, and some have stated that the web swinging doesn't look much different from the first, which is somewhat understandable because this game is running off a modified engine of the previous entry. Like, graphically the game looks amazing, but if you were to get behind the eyes of a super casual player and step 10 feet back, you'd probably say that you don't see the difference other than the levels featuring snow. And I think that the YouTube videos don't do the visuals justice. I also think that Miles will be a tad bit faster than Peter, because as you can see, he has a move called the Venom Dash that allows him to be. He already has the web zip that allows you to propel off of random objects and ledges to boost your momentum. But this Venom Dash is really gonna up the ante and encourage you to build up some meter. If you look at his Venom meter, it looks like it'll consume half a bar or probably even more depending on how much you can level it up. So I'm looking forward to seeing if I can use this during dives and other aerial moves, because as you can see, he can also perform it with flips. But moving on, we get a brief glimpse at the Prowler's icon on the Friendly Neighborhood Spider app. If you saw my previous video, I mentioned that there was a high probability that he would be in the game. There was a photo of Aaron Davis and Miles' contacts, and there was a mural painting promotion that featured the Prowler. Shortly after uploading that video, Insomniac confirmed that he would in fact be in the game with this awesome variant cover that was drawn by none other than the creative director Brian Horton himself. So definitely expect to see a nephew versus uncle battle between Miles and the Prowler. I can't exactly tell what kind of mission this will be that pops on the map. It could be where his apartment is, or it could be a spot where you get leads on where to find him, since he's a very crafty character. Anyways, we get a look at some of the other combat moves and missions that'll be featured in the game. In this one segment, we get a look at one of Miles' ultimate finishers, the Mega Venom Blast, which pretty much decimates all of the surrounding enemies. And I'm not sure if this is the most powerful finisher in his arsenal, but man, does it look amazing. It's like looking at an electrified version of Vegeta's final explosion. And it further illustrates how much Miles' gameplay is gonna differ from Peter. Like, his moves are all about crowd control, pretty much leveling surrounding enemies with your bioelectric abilities. But moving on, I want to briefly mention another costume that will be in the game. Just want to warn those that this will be a spoiler. I uploaded a video briefly before taking it down the other day. It was a clip showing off Miles swinging from the highest buildings, and if you notice, he was wearing a rather peculiar suit that hadn't been revealed yet, and that is the Halloween Spider-Man suit. This is a suit that was first seen in issue 4 of Ultimate Comics' All New Spider-Man, and it's actually the first Spidey costume he wears shortly after Peter Parker's death. And he wears this costume for a very short stint before he's apprehended by Spider-Woman aka Jessica Drew and given his main suit by S.H.I.E.L.D. I got a message from some Sony reps telling me to take the video down because apparently there was something that was in that clip that they didn't want people to know about until the game's release, so I removed the video. But yeah guys, that's the new costume, and I'm thinking they may reveal it by the time this video goes live, because as you all know, it'll officially be Halloween, and the reveal for a Halloween costume would be a fitting thing for that day. But with that, I'm gonna end the video. What did you guys think about the Into the Spider-Verse suit? Do you like the choppy frame animations? And do you think Insomniac should add this effect to Peter's version in the remaster? Let me know in the comments below. As always, I ask that you like or dislike the video. It doesn't have to be a thumbs up, it can be a thumbs down. Any feedback is good feedback and will only help me improve on future videos. But if you really enjoyed the video, it would help me out tremendously if you shared with all your friends and followers on social media. Sharing really makes a difference. But once again, this is your boy RBG signing out on another video. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.